And hark, how blithe the throstle sings, he too is no mean preacher. Come forth into the light of things, let nature be your teacher. She has a world of ready wealth, our minds and hearts to bless. Spontaneous wisdom, breathed by health, truth, breathed by cheerfulness.
Here I am at Dove Cottage in Grasmere. William and Dorothy Wordsworth were born in Cockermouth. They lived apart for much of their childhood following the death of their parents. William and their 3 brothers went to school in Hawkshead, whereas Dorothy went to live with extended family in Yorkshire. In 1799, William and Dorothy moved here to Dove Cottage in Grasmere. They were delighted to be back in their beloved Lakeland. They were in their late 20s and they moved to what William described as the loveliest spot that man hath ever known.
In 1803, Dorothy Wordsworth wrote in her recollections of a tour of Scotland, "We came to a pleasure house, of which the little girl had the key. She said it was called the Fog House because it was lined with fog, namely moss. On the outside it resembled some of the huts in the prints belonging to Captain Cook's voyages, and within was like a haystack scooped out. It was circular, with a dome-like roof, a seat all round fixed to the wall, and a table in the middle. Seat, wall, roof and table, all covered with moss in the neatest manner possible. It was as snug as a bird's nest. I wish we had such a one at the top of our orchard, only a great deal smaller."
The moss hut was William's escape from the world, a place he could write, reflect and enjoy the view over Grasmere Lake. For Dorothy, it was the sweetest place on earth, a place for quiet contemplation.
Rob and I came on board to help develop this vision and to design a new moss hut, a simple space, really inviting for contemplation, for slowing down, for plugging back into nature and perhaps for being creative. Our own creative practice really focuses on deepening connection with the natural world, helping us feel and express the way that we are part of it, not separate from it. And so this fitted perfectly for us. We couldn't bring this concept fully to life or even imagine a new moss hut without someone else. And we worked with Charlie Whinney, a maker who uses a technique called steam bending and works in oak. The 3 of us sat around, put our heads together and came up with the design for what was to become the new moss hut.
I remember sitting at this table with you guys, like talking about different ideas, and it's like, well, we could do this. And then the actual process of creation is basically one of reduction, where you basically reduce the potential into what you actually do, which is kind of scary, but also kind of exciting as well. I was really keen to use locally sourced oak from a wood that was the one that you could cycle here in about 10 minutes. The wood's not far away. And I know from my making kind of experience how the grain needs to look in the wood and what condition the oak needs to be in. And aware with every bit of material or anything you do, there is a moral aspect to it. So like, I think using green wood is a really good material to use compared to plastic or metal or lots of other materials that I have used in the past. But I kind of think that if I can use a tree where I know where it came from, and then you can see like what the impact is, and then so with the moss hut was a good example where we didn't cut any oak trees down specially for the project. Yeah, so steam bending wood is quite simple. You heat the wood and then you bend it over a thing. You either bend it straight onto the structure we're going to do, or if you bend it over a form, you bend it over like a set radius, then you can limit how tight a radius, how much movement, how much the wood is expanding, contracting at any given part of that plank. I think with this structure what we did is we pre-bent all of the wood over a set radius that was slightly tighter than any part of the spiral.
Yeah.
Great, thank you. Hands up if you think you know what a knot is in a piece of wood. Okay, what do you think?
You can also put branches off a tree.
Got it. He's so close.
The branches have circles.
What's your name?
James.
He's got it. It's branches. Building the jig was probably as much a mission as building the final piece. Probably after a couple of days of kind of thinking and sketching and a little bit more model making, I came back to the idea about thinking, fine, we're just going to make a jig. We'll literally just make a giant football and bend over it, and that's the only way to do it. I think the alternatives, of which were many, would have been a nightmare. It's a lot of work, a lot of wales. I think we had over 1,000 kind of junctures within the geodesic structure of the jig. This way, that's it. Yeah, perfect. And then when it's flat on the plywood, you can then twist it, and then that's how we're going to get it to do its thing.
So bit by bit.
And when it comes to designing a structure, the structure is symbolic of the cultural aspect of the product as well. Because there are always two personalities here, William and Dorothy. You think, fine, so we're going to have two aspects to the construction, and then the spirals is they kind of interlock and create something which is kind of like, so both of them kind of mix together. They can't exist without each other, and they kind of make a coherent, a kind of structural thing, basically. The moss hut was a kind of fundamental kind of distilling of many of the aspects of the brief into one solution, and it was like, oh, that's what we're going to make. Oh, of course it's got two spirals on, how could it not? Working slower. I was working on my own, quite often at night time. Quite enjoyed listening to the prelude on the loudspeaker in the workshop on my phone. It was quite good. So you're kind of imagining Wordsworth while you're doing the thing, and the spirals took on quite a kind of powerful meaning for me while I was doing that process, kind of thinking about the wider context of the work. When it finally came to the day, the trailer was here, put it on, it was time to go. I remember being at the jetty, and then a lady with a cello showed up and started playing beautiful music in the moss hut, and it had been in the workshop that morning from its creation. It's all covered in dust, and suddenly it was out in the world. There were tourists who were enjoying the free show, who were seeing the thing, and for them they probably thought it was just like, oh, this is what happens in the Lake District, and this is a normal thing. This is nice they put this on for us.
This plot of orchard ground is ours. My trees they are, my sister's flowers. Here rest your wings when they are weary. Here lodge as in a sanctuary. Come often to us, fear no wrong. Sit near us on the bough. We'll talk of sunshine and of song, and summer days when we were young, sweet childish days that were as long as 20 days are now.
I'd like it if people who sit in it would experience a kind of slowing, at least for a moment. Having that pause, that's what I want people to have, a pause, just a little time.
This moss hut is a one-off, made specially for Wordsworth Grasmere of oak. It's a place for us to sit and contemplate, to slow down, to enjoy looking at the small things in nature, just as William and Dorothy Wordsworth did. This is obviously a very special place, but we really want to know if you have somewhere that you like to go to observe, to talk to friends, to just sit and be, perhaps to take a moment for yourself, to read a book, to drink a cup of coffee. We'd love to hear about those special places that you go on your own or with friends. We'd also love you to create some new places, some new moss huts of your own. These could be through design. You might sketch your own moss hut. You might use painting or collage to design somewhere. You might go 3D. You might make a little model out of clay. You might use natural sticks and leaves. Don't use moss, because we don't want to pull moss up from the natural world. But you might want to create something that's life-size. You might want to create your own moss hut in your garden, in a community space like a park, or perhaps in your school grounds if you're a child. You could create it on your own. You might want to work with members of your family. You might want to work with friends or people in your class. It's up to you, but we would love to hear all about your creations for moss huts, whether that be a design, could even be digital. You might use Minecraft or something like that to create it. Whether it's something physical, would love to see a picture of you inside it. And we'd also like to know about the things that you observe while you're there, the conversations that you have, the things that you think about, those sorts of reflective moments. And if you are inspired by the moss hut, by William and Dorothy's writing, by the natural world around us, then we would love to hear your own poetry and your reflections. Please share them with us.
Over time, the moss hut settled into the garden at Dove Cottage. In 1806, William Wordsworth writes this: "I am now writing in the moss hut, which is my study, with a heavy thunder shower pouring down before me. It is a place of retirement for the eye, though the public road glimmers through the apple trees a few yards below, and it's well suited to my occupations."
Picture yourself as a tiny wren, no heavier than a letter with a stamp on. You might want to do something for your tail, you might want to tuck your wings in, or you might want to poke your wings out.
What about how it builds its nest?
So the hut is here. The hut is next to Wordsworth's home. Come and use it. Come and sit in it. Come and do as the Wordsworths did, and to relax and to talk and to be creative maybe. It's what you would like to make of it. And it's a wonderful thing, as you can see. It's in the spirit of the Wordsworths. It doesn't have the moss on it that the Wordsworths would have done, but then we don't really know what the Wordsworth hut would have looked like. So this is in the spirit, and this is a wonderful, imaginative response to the same ideas and the same principles that the Wordsworths followed. So please come and sit in it and come and rest a while.